Next would be a report on the second Friday of the January enrollment count and the 2013-14 district free and reduced lunch percentages.
So we'll start out with the enrollment, and I did embed for you, Mrs. Buxler was able to get these numbers completed, and you can take a look. The good news is our enrollment has increased from the start of the school year until the January 2nd, the second Friday, January 10th count. So we're up about 17 students, which is good. We continue to see the high school lose a few kids, so they're down to 876 or 78. 6, it looks like. I need my bifocals to read that. Middle school gained a few students. You can see elementary, some of the number shifts there as well. We had our full K numbers are up 10 students. Lemon Wire's up 5 students. So it's just good to see numbers rebounding a little bit. So.
Okay. My only caution is that it's hard to make a correlation between the January and the third Friday September count. You can be up one year and then down. But we'll take this little victory right now, and hopefully it continues.
Then Mr. Gordon is going to talk about the free and reduced. Back to Mr. Gordon.
Yep. You pull it up and we'll...
But just on that enrollment again for a second. So this enrollment number,
What's the importance?
it doesn't deter, we don't use that on the revenue limit worksheet.
The third Friday count is for the revenue limit. The second Friday count you take, it's an average of the third Friday and the second Friday count along with your summer counts, and that's used for state aid purposes for the next year.
So being up a little bit will help, but it's not.
Here's the free and reduced eligible percent of students by building enrollment, and then also the district totals on the bottom here. As you can see by looking at the numbers real quickly, we haven't changed a lot from last year, 2012 district-wide. We're at 44%, but on basically a 10-11 year average there, you can see that we're up about 12% over previous years, or those years. So that's a considerable increase. I'm not sure that probably isn't much different than any other district in the state of Wisconsin, especially the rural communities. I think you would see very similar numbers. As we're looking at it, you can see that Camp Douglas, of course, is up a little bit from last year, but enrollment can have a significant impact on those percentages because there's fewer kids there. So keep that in mind when you're looking at that. But overall, I think what that tells us is that when we're looking at our free and reduced populations, we need, number one, to continue to reach out to those families that may be in need of assistance through the free and reduced lunch program. That's a program that is sponsored by the federal government, and for the most part, our program has not been subsidized by district money, so it's been a fairly, it's not profitable, but certainly break-even endeavor with us. So we want to continue encouraging that and getting those kids in here and meeting. So I don't know if you have any questions on that. It's just good information. The one things from a previous district that I've worked at, without looking at the numbers, but the higher your, typically the higher your free and reduced percentages are, the more challenges you can have in that classroom, and that just comes with the challenges of working with more students in poverty. And of course, that doesn't necessarily just mean these students, but also the students that are above that number too. The just, so to speak, as they say, it is what it is, but that makes the challenge of what the classroom teacher is and the administrators in the building just that much harder, because they're focused on a lot of other things rather than the primary focus, which is just education. So I think every community needs to know that when you're looking at those numbers, that along with that are other challenges too. It's just not a number about free and reduced meals. There's other indicators within those numbers too that you have to focus on and be paying attention to, because some of those schools will need additional help in the classrooms and many other different forms and fashions. And it's pretty well documented.
I think it's important to note that it's, if parents are eligible for free and reduced, it helps the district if they take advantage of that as well, because we become more eligible for grants and resources that are out there. So right now, Mrs. Pope has been working on a 21st Century Learning Grant that, maybe because of the free and reduced numbers at Lemonweyer will be more apt to get. But we know that, for instance, our middle school families and our high school families, for whatever reasons, tend not to turn in those forms. And certainly, I think we've always had the opinion in Toma, we're not going to force people to do that if they don't want to. But I think it's important that families realize that it is a benefit to the school if we have that information. If they don't want to take advantage of the free and reduced meals, that's their choice, but it certainly can help our district in accessing resources that might not be available otherwise.
And that information is confidential. I think sometimes when they get up to the middle school and high school, they're afraid that their classmates are going to see that they're on that, but there isn't any way for anyone else standing in line next to them to know that they're on the free and reduced, right?
Right.
Because they all have their own number and they don't know how it's being paid for.
And one of our biggest programs that's directly impacted on an annual basis is our Title I program, and that is, I believe, every 3 years they recertify the number of kids eligible for free and reduced. So based on the free and reduced numbers, you are allocated X amount of dollars for each of those students. So that changes on an annual basis. But again, it's a federal program, and with any state or federal program, if the dollars are there, we want Toma to get those dollars. It can only help us. So we want to make sure that our taxpayers are paying in for their dollars, and we need to take full advantage of it to bring them back here.
We ask our clients at the pantry if they're on it, if they have students in school, just to make sure that that's an opportunity for them to take advantage of if they need it. So we try to encourage them to do the same thing. So hopefully we're catching some that aren't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?